Bonjour mes chers amis. Je veux d'abord remercier le président Biden et les États-Unis de nous avoir rassemblés ici à Los Angeles pour ce 9e sommet des Amériques. We've built a resilient, responsive and effective inter-American system that makes real contributions to the lives of our citizens every day. And we must keep working together, especially now, at a moment when our world is facing many challenges like a global pandemic, climate change, and threats to democracy and to the rules-based order. We need to deliver for people and make sure they see themselves in the progress we make. For that, we must ensure that we have strong institutions and take action to strengthen them further. As the region's premier multilateral forum, the Organization of American States is uniquely qualified to promote our values and facilitate cooperation. This week, Canada endorses the United States-America's Partnership for Economic Prosperity. We believe that this partnership responds to hemispheric priorities and that it will provide us with more tools to tackle inequality and grow the economy and the middle class. When peace, stability, and prosperity are threatened by an illegal and unjustifiable war, it is a global concern. I visited Ukraine last month to express my support in person to President Zelensky and to the Ukrainian people. I saw the devastation firsthand. I want to thank our partners here who continue to send strong signals of support for Ukraine. As you know, Russia's actions have consequences not only in Eastern Europe, but throughout the world, particularly in the global south. Consequences like food shortages. In Ukraine, the grain elevators are full. They had a record harvest crop last year. Now, Ukraine is expected to have a crop 1/3 smaller than last year because of the war. And Russia is blocking it from getting out. As you all know, there are no sanctions on food. We need to counter and continue to counter Russian disinformation at every turn. Canada recognizes the negative impact of this crisis on economies and on food security in our hemisphere, and will be there to help, both with short and longer-term solutions. We'll also continue to do our part to respond to COVID-19. Already, we've invested $11.5 million to support countries in the region through the Pan American Health Organization and through our embassies and high commissions. And we're providing an additional $50 million to the organization's pandemic response, as well as over 760,000 vaccine doses. Pendant qu'on poursuit notre lutte contre cette pandémie, on doit améliorer la résilience dans nos systèmes de santé. On doit s'assurer qu'ils peuvent répondre aux besoins de tout le monde, et en particulier les gens les plus vulnérables. Parce qu'un meilleur avenir, c'est un avenir où personne n'est laissé pour compte. C'est pourquoi le Canada encourage l'égalité des sexes dans ses initiatives diplomatiques, commerciales et d'aide internationale. We'll always be here to work with other governments to promote the human rights of women, girls, gender-diverse people, and LGBTQ2 communities. Everyone should be able to live a life free of discrimination and to be able to make their own choices for their own bodies. And everyone should have the opportunity to reach their full potential. Advancing rights and economic empowerment for everyone must always include Indigenous peoples. Their voices need to be heard in summits like these, and we call on other countries to support their meaningful participation. Because when more diverse voices are heard, everyone benefits. That's why it's so important to continue fighting for our democratic values. Around the world, we've seen a rise in authoritarianism and a backsliding of democracy. Le Canada est déterminé à travailler avec ses partenaires pour améliorer la résilience de nos démocraties. Avec le Panama, On est fiers de co-présider le groupe de travail du Sommet des Amériques chargé d'élaborer le plan d'action interaméricain sur la gouvernance démocratique. On encourage aussi une plus vaste adhésion à des organisations comme la Coalition pour la liberté en ligne que le Canada préside cette année. De cette façon, on va pouvoir mieux lutter contre la mésinformation, la désinformation et le contenu dangereux en ligne, tout en faisant la promotion de l'inclusion dans le monde numérique. Prime Minister Motley of Barbados has long been telling us that smaller island nations are struggling to deal with a triple crisis that includes COVID-19, rising fuel and food prices, and climate change. Our international financial architecture was designed long before the challenges we now face, including this climate crisis. We need to work together to think creatively to address climate risks that more vulnerable countries are facing. Canada supports concessional financing for these at-risk middle-income countries, including small island developing states, so that they can build resilience. And I want to thank Mia and others for their leadership on this front. At every forum, from the Francophonie to Commonwealth to the OAS to the G7, the G20, APEC and others, Canada will always be there to speak up for countries who aren't at the table and who are particularly vulnerable to events beyond their control. Les pays des Amériques partagent des océans. On est unis par des accords commerciaux qui favorisent l'innovation propre. Et par-dessus tout, on a un avenir commun. Ici, au sommet, le Canada a co-parrainé une initiative avec le Chili pour protéger l'océan Pacifique. Je suis bien heureux de voir des pays de partout dans les Amériques y adhérer. C'est notre responsabilité à tous d'assurer la santé de nos eaux. C'est aussi notre responsabilité de garder notre air pur. At COP26, I called on the world to get to 60% of global emissions covered by pollution pricing by 2030. I salute those of you who've already put a price on pollution in your countries. I invite all others to join in that challenge. Whether it's fighting climate change, strengthening our economies, keeping people safe, or addressing the impacts and root causes of irregular migration, building a better future requires efforts. And this wouldn't be possible without strong inter-American institutions and democracies. So again, thank you all for being here. Thank you for your words, for your leadership, for your engagement even when it's difficult. And I very much look forward to continuing to work with all of you. Merci, mes amis.